Romain, good to have you with us. Why does Macron think he can make a difference in these talks today?
Well, as you know, the United States and Russia are at loggerhead. Their talks have gone nowhere between both presidents, but also between the foreign ministers. France has a seat at the United Nations Security Council. Traditionally, it's always been sitting independently between the US and Russia. Of course, it is a close ally to the US, but even under President de Gaulle's time, it was neither the West nor the Soviets. So France has this tradition to speak between these two giants, and Emmanuel Macron is hopeful that he will be able to get them to talk and encourage diplomacy. But it is very much a gamble. I mean, think about Vladimir Putin talking to a French president who is likely to run for election in the coming month. What is his legitimacy?
And that's such a great point, Romain, because you've got Macron going to the polls, and of course Biden too is suffering at the moment in the polls in the US, and he likes foreign policy. This is an area that he has excelled in. So there's almost, domestic issues for both of these leaders.
Absolutely, you're utterly right on this. But there are also domestic issues for Vladimir Putin. I mean, we need to remember that at least 700,000 Russians died because of COVID. And the Russian economy at the moment is sluggish at best, comparatively to Australia, the US, France. It's booming everywhere, but not so much in Russia. So Vladimir Putin also needs a win domestically. As opposed to other leaders, he doesn't come and go, but he still has to reckon with his own affairs and his own people.
Yeah. We probably think nothing's going to happen now during the Beijing Olympics because, of course, he sought the support of China, which they offered against the West. What are your views, though, about a possible invasion?
Well, this is the multi-million-dollar question at the moment. I think if you think about it, there are three avenues for Vladimir Putin. The first one is an all-out invasion of the Ukraine. Now, this would not be coherent with the recent history of the Federation of Russia. We haven't seen that happening before. And what would be the gains? Vladimir Putin does not want to conquer the Ukraine. He wants to engage a dialogue between NATO and European presence near what he sees as Russia's buffer zone. An all-out war as well would be extremely costly, not to mention that many Ukrainians very much dislike Russia and would fight. Killing civilians would not be a good look. So option one is total war. It is possible, but probably unlikely. Option two is the great Russian tradition of nibbling at territories. We've seen that in Ossetia, we've seen that in Crimea, we've seen that in the Donbass. And the West usually turns their eyes away because it's only 50K, 100K, 200Ks. So option two is nibbling and might very well happen. Option three is negotiation and peace. And it could be a great look for President Putin, Macron and Biden to look like they have saved peace locally. Of course, that would require intense negotiations. So it may be months before we actually find an outcome to this situation.
And, it comes back to Vladimir Putin's sense that the West is encroaching, this nibbling away that the way you put that is such a great point. Ever since the Soviet Union broke apart, he still wants this buffer zone with the West. And Ukraine is a key part of that, is it not?
Absolutely. And I think this is where history can be useful. When you think of Russia, whether it's under the Tsar, whether it's a USSR, whether it's a Federation of Russia, the name and the political regime change, but Russia is essentially an empire with satellite states that it seeks to cultivate and have a buffer zone. It has always acted in this way, and there is continuity in Vladimir Putin's foreign policy. Of course, it's not the USSR, but here again, we see a remnant of the USSR, the NATO, created to contain Russia. And we see Vladimir Putin pushing against this because Europe is attempting to get stronger militarily speaking and organize its own defense. which of course is threatening, well, allegedly, according to Vladimir Putin, is threatening Russian security. So when before he left, well, President Macron is about to leave as we speak to Moscow and then to Kiev. He said to the French press that there will be no compromise on European and Ukraine territory, but at the same time that he understood that Vladimir Putin's move was legitimate to guarantee the safety of his own country. So he's trying to make a very clear statement, at the same time acknowledging what Russian feelings may be toward the Ukraine, which, as you said, has a very long historical connection to Russia. Some of it not so good for the Ukrainian people. We can talk about the Holodomor that killed millions of Ukrainians during the Soviet Union.
Interesting times. Romain, thank you as always for your expertise.
Thank you very much for having me tonight.